Delicious.
Ooh. I'm having a
Now I'm drinking
matcha
water.
tea.
Oh,
I love
yes.
matcha
Love it.
tea.
Big Axe Sour.
Ooh, nice. I mean, if that's the case, I'm going to go grab a Yingling.
Go right ahead, man.
Yeah, no, we're not. Yeah, no, super casual. No, like, all good,
Mental health after hours.
technically. Um,
Mental health off the clock.
I
yeah.
All right.
I didn't do the thing.
Benefit of my small apartment. My fridge is 5 steps that way.
The fun thing is, I have been to the Yingling Brewery in PA
Oh.
probably
I
two
hate you.
dozen times.
Oh, I hate you so much.
It's
I have to go.
I have a mini keg. I'll take a picture of it. I have a mini keg signed by Dick Yingling and all of his daughters. I was
so
there
cool.
for a tour. Me and my best friend used to go down there because it was an awesome trip because you would go down straight down 81 south. And you'd get off at the Schmokin' Pottsville exit. I can't make this shit up. It's honest to God truth. You'd get off
Schmokin'
there,
Potts.
and you would go down about 15 miles down the mountain, and right there on the hillside was Yingling. And you'd go up there, and it's the original. At that point, they just knocked down the wall and opened up a 100-year-old part of the brewery where they used to put the kegs and everything. So we got to see that. We were one of the first tours to go through it, and we were standing in the gift shop, and all of a sudden, everybody just like stood straight up and was very greeting everyone. It's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, you see Dick Yingling walk in, and he's shaking people's hands that were on the tour and this and that, and his daughters were there. And I met him. I talked to him. I go, hey, you wouldn't by any chance like to sign a keg for me because I doubt I'll ever see you again. He goes, no. Do you have one? I go, yeah, I carry one with me wherever I go. Sure. Yeah. He goes,
Lug it
give
on
me
your shoulder.
go grab one of the mini kegs. And somebody came back and he signed it and he goes, you want my daughter to sign it too? I go, get the heirs, get them all. So they signed it
that.
all the way around, and it's sitting out. It's actually, I used to have it displayed in a bar at our old house, and I haven't built a new bar in this house yet, so it's sitting down in the basement right now.
You're looking at my bar.
I dig it very much.
I'm wearing the hat I'm wearing is Family Business Beer Company, and it's owned by Jensen Ackles. So if you've ever watched Supernatural,
Oh yeah.
and we were out there this past weekend, and he was out there, and he was just swarmed. I was like, I'm not even gonna try, because we were at a bachelor party. There were 20 of us. I was like, no need to swarm them with 20 more people. It was really cool.
That is cool. I am not going to repeat that because if my wife hears it, she's a huge Supernatural fan. It'll be the end. She'll be like, what do you look like? Was he good looking? Did you see his butt?
Yeah.
You know.
He is good looking though.
He's a
Come on.
fantastic looking man.
Come on.
Wait, he's been doing a TikTok with another guy. He wears like the blue sweater all the time. And he's been like almost photo bombing and being a part of him, putting the sweater on and stuff.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting things like, have him put the sweater back on. And yeah, I love that. He's a
love it.
lot of fun. He was killer in The Boys.
Oh
watched
yeah.
it.
You haven't watched it?
No, listen, I've
dude.
been watching NCIS for a year.
And I'm still catching up.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
on
there's so
I'm
much.
season 19. Mark Harmon just left, literally an hour and a half ago. In case you're wondering what community managers do when they're not playing games or working, lay on the couch and be a potato.
Nothing wrong with that. I had a busy day today. I was a potato for about 3 hours.
God, I love it. I love it.
We are live. I'm just getting a tweet out.
Oh, cool. Send this to my Discord.
And then we'll go there. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Oh, nice.
Hi.
All right. So the way this usually goes with us now, I don't know if everybody can hear you. It doesn't look like my headset is picking up again. Streamlabs is doing something weird. Let me switch it off and then switch it back on for audio. I'm not getting any Monitoring off it.
Monitoring.
Yeah, words are hard today.
I'm
They
not
really
getting
are.
that.
You need to get that Stream Deck, that new Stream Deck, to
Monitoring.
get the
Yeah,
wavelength
words are
software.
hard today.
They
They
have all of those inputs.
say that again.
That new Stream Deck, the one with the dials.
No,
It
because
enables.
that just is money. That's
I
just
know,
more
but
money.
it enables
That's
you to
too
get
much.
the wavelength software that has the built-in mixer.
Hmm.
So you don't
have an
need
Astro
the Wave
mixer.
XLR.
I found it. It's sitting over there, and I have a pair of Astros. I just never put two and two together.
For what it's worth, I can hear sound through the stream.
Perfect. Thank you, Nell. Dingo.
Oh yeah, I should have been doing that since I have the stream open too.
You're zoning out.
I was just setting something up.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh yeah, just so you know too, these came in and they're absolutely massive.
I love that.
Oh yeah, shakers. I probably shouldn't have did that just then, but it's okay.
Why?
I have to bring like a second
know.
suitcase to leave PAX, aren't I?
Well, I'm glad I'm driving my truck because this came in 4 giant boxes that looked like they fell off a boat.
That's
So-
actually really nice though, because when I think of shaker, I think of like the smaller ones.
Yeah, ones that are like about this big. You get them from like
Yeah.
Advanced GG and stuff. And
Yeah.
everything, when I was talking to him, I'm like, how big is it? He's like 700 milliliters. I'm like,
No, that's not too
28
bad. It's
ounces,
like
24
three
ounces.
quarters of a liter.
So this thing is, is pretty. I have nothing to. Oh, here we go. A regular 12-ounce Red Bull can, and there you go.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
I
they're-
mean,
they're pretty big.
decent size compared to my
Yeah.
Yeti.
I love that Yeti.
48
And then-
ounces, I
Which of
think.
this?
The lid.
So 700 milliliters is about close to 24 fluid ounces.
Yeah, I don't know what that is in freedom units. Okay, you broke it down for us. Okay.
Yeah, about 24, give or take, fluid ounces.
No. This is a third of a liter.
This is a bottle.
Or I
700
don't know.
milliliters.
I don't know.
Farva.
No, it's
What is it?
1.36 liters.
This is
Oh,
just a
with
bottle.
360.
I don't know
Oh,
what's. I don't know. I don't know how
It's a
much.
bottle.
I drink water out of it and I fill it up when it's
It
empty.
should be written somewhere on the bottom.
Ah,
No, I won this from Intel.
put it next to the
This-
camera. Let Nell. He's been watching NCIS a lot, so he'll be able to
Ah,
investigate.
I'm a detective now.
Yeah.
Listen, if I want to be an NCIS agent, I have to join within the next 2 years because you have to join before you're 37.
Oh God.
Mandatory retirement age at 57, and you have to be in for 20 years to retire. So I have to make a decision soon.
I'll pull for
There
you.
you
You
go.
put me down for a reference. If that will do anything. Frisk, thank you so much for popping by and thank you for the donation. Appreciate it.
Woo! Thank you.
Yeah, just so you know, all the donations we run a year-long campaign with Twitch Charity to support Guardians Mental Health, us, and our mental health kit program. So all the donations that come in go directly to supporting that program. So thank you so much. You were able to put 2.5 mental health kits together. Appreciate you.
Woo! Love that.
Yeah. And I know we're starting the podcast, but today went out to ClearPath for vets. What a wonderful conversation with all of them today. They were so happy to see. Mind you, I caught several of them outside smoking cigarettes while I came around with the car. I was like, gotcha. But the new facility is fantastic. It's such a nice space. It's right across from one of the area high schools, and they couldn't have picked a better location. Their offices are just super comfortable. They're working on getting the other office spaces. That way they can do their canteens and larger support groups in there outside of the smaller ones that they can do in some of the conference rooms and the lounges and stuff. But when I came in with a giant tote with our veteran mental health kits, and they were so blown away by them. And I got to meet several of their directors and also their trainers for their support animals that they have. They have 37 dogs. They operate nationally now for their dog program. They also have one of their chefs down there for their wellness programs to train, show people, vets, how to do healthy cooking and stuff. And every single person took our cards there, but absolutely are blown away by what we've put together in the vet kits. And they have gone all the way down to the Hudson Valley, all the way up to Maine, all over the place. And they're very impressed, and they're really looking forward to doing some more things in the future, including they want to do some game nights too. And they want to see if we want to do something with them on it. So,
Dude, I love that.
It was a lot of fun. And it was a great talk. Actually, they couldn't get me out the door because I talk so much. Shocker.
Shocker.
I know. But that's not what we're here for. I don't see these guys often enough to.
Are you
not
still
talk.
doing like the counting for the derailment?
That's not technically a derailment until we say go.
Because we haven't started yet.
That's right.
Nice.
Yep.
It's derailing us starting.
You're right. That's why Matt's staring at me.
Tomato.
Yeah. All right.
Potato.
Who wants to do the opener? I know Matt likes to do it live.
I don't mind. I'll do it.
Okay. Go right ahead. Bring us right in.
Sounds good. The information presented in this podcast is of a general nature and is intended for educational and entertainment purposes. While many of the people here have some form of mental health training, they are not your mental health professional. This podcast is not a replacement for mental or physical care or for the diagnosis of any mental health illness or condition. Please enjoy the show. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for the Guardians Mental Health Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt, and with me tonight is Joe.
Hello.
and Dr. Goku.
Hi.
If you're joining us for the first time, Guardians Mental Health is a 501c3 nonprofit focused on promoting mental health awareness throughout the gaming community. We strive to be a first step assisting individuals with gathering meaningful resources in a safe and inclusive atmosphere.
Cash,
Our
thank you
podcast
so
is
much
another
for
way
the,
to normalize
for the
talking about
follow.
mental
Appreciate
health,
it. Thank you.
and it's just a
Welcome.
fusion
Welcome.
of mental health
Bird,
topics
what's
and
going
gaming.
on?
Tonight's guest is the internet's dad, Nelstar.
I love it.
How are you, Nell?
I'm good. I was not expecting that. I'm fantastic.
I had to. I'm looking at your Twitter right now. I was like, I have to open with this.
Dude, I don't even know how that. I think it was Father's Day last year. I think I tweeted out. I was like, if you don't have a dad, I'm your dad now.
Oh, and I could only imagine the comments under that tweet.
Oh, it was wild. It was absolutely insane, but I love it. So
thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on, and we greatly appreciate it. For those who may not know who the internet's dad is, help us out. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and your favorite color. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
Favorite color. If you couldn't tell by my entire outfit, my favorite color is black. Yeah. But yeah, I'm Nell. I'm a senior community manager at a company in video games. I've been in video games this is going on 8 years now. If you include me as a streamer.
Hell yeah.
Still stream on the side, which is really fun. Play a lot of Destiny. But in the past have done everything from community management to influencer relations for AMD, 505 Games, Square Enix, and Spire Media. So I've kind of just been around the block for about 8 years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the amount of just experience you've gained from all those different places. I mean, it just sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, it's cool because like each one is a different size publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I've gone like Square obviously is like one of the largest publishers in the world, and you get so much experience working on AAA titles and working on a game like Marvel's Avengers, but also like the experience I gained at 505 Games, which when I joined was only doing indie games, is some of the most invaluable experience I've ever got because you have to think outside the box to make anything work.
Right. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, you get both sides of it right there, and the knowledge you gain from both of them. I mean, it's just going to help you throughout the future with just continuing making an impact with possibly whoever you decide to work for in the in the future. I'm not going to say near future. I'm used to saying near future with my other but you get what I mean. First edit derailment, 2 minutes.
What got you into this the field of video games, I guess. What, like, was it just general video game enjoyment, or what kind of threw you down this path that you're taking so far?
The short of it is whenever I first played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is in my mind the greatest game of all time.
Game.
When I played that, I was like, I want to figure out how to work in video games. Of course, I was like 10, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on. My dad told me, you're an idiot. You'll never get a job in video games. But then got, about 9 years ago, I was working at good old Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Give you the tools to be your own boss. And one of the dudes who was he was in college at Texas State, because I was working down in South Austin, and he was one of the dudes that watched our cars. He was like, you like video games? You should check out this thing called Twitch. And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Right. I'm playing Destiny, I'm playing World of Warcraft, and I'm like, okay, I'll check out Twitch. And then one thing led to another, and 6-7 months later, I was streaming myself, and then realized because of streaming, I could maybe kind of form a path into video games, and that's essentially what happened. I got laid off from a sales job. I was making a ton of money, but they did a little bit of a layoff, and so I streamed full time. And then AMD was hiring, and I was community manager. I was the social lead for Ryzen's initial launch back in 2016, 2017. So that social media account, that was my baby, right? And then I packed up my bags and I left my hometown of Austin and I moved to Los Angeles to go work in big old video games, and worked at 505 Games. So it's just like Destiny plus like someone telling me about Twitch. I just found my end, and now no one can get rid of me.
Because they don't want to.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, sure.
No, that's
it's a compliment, and you'll take it.
Okay, sorry.
I thoroughly love to hear that, because usually you see like Twitch being the end, right? Like, I'm going to stream on Twitch, I'm going to make a career out of it, and which is great. But yours was like, I'm going to start Twitch, and that's going to be my in to the video game world. The video game. Yeah.
It's because like whenever I first started streaming, influencer relations and like in like content creator management was just becoming a thing at publishers and developers. So they were looking for people with experience streaming and who had a Rolodex of content creators that they were friends with. So it was 90% of my journey was just right place, right time.
Yeah.
Like, I had streamed full-time for 9 months. 505 Games was looking for an influencer relations manager. They're like, we're not looking for someone who has experience in the industry. We're looking for someone who's been a full-time content creator and who knows people and will go to conventions and talk about our games. And I'm like, I'm already doing that on my own dime.
Yeah.
If you want to pay me to do it, I'm in. And so, again, it was like, I was, I'm eternally grateful for my old boss, Rachel, for giving me a shot, because I had no idea what I was doing. My entire background was in sales, which like doesn't really compare to what I'm doing now. And then I learned so much throughout the years because of that. And I still stream to this day so that I keep on top of trends and that it's a part of, the campaigns and the marketing strategies that I build out.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It is. You see a lot of several people I've seen from just the community get a start in streaming as well. Holtzman sticks out in my mind as well, because he was, on the podcast, and eventually he went to go work for Bungie, and I believe now he's working for another studio now. But it's a very unique situation right there to be able to start here, have such a drive and passion and doing things already that you're already doing for free, just because you love to do it, you love to talk about it and get the word out. I do it all the time too, about reading Terminal Market and their pastrami and egg and cheese sandwiches. If they're listening, I will take a sponsor anytime, because I will be talking about this till I go back to Philly. But
I'm gonna interrupt you really quick.
Sure.
Me and Joe were on a meeting. I won't say with who, because I don't know if we can yet.
You can. That's fine.
Okay. Well, we were in a meeting earlier today talking with some people about like making some things and possible partnerships and things like that. And he brought this up again.
He really loves that sandwich.
In the middle of a
I get
business
it.
meeting.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, when we were in PAX Unplugged, there is a fantastic market in Philly known as the Reading Terminal Market. And it's just a combination of everything. There's food, you can buy meats, you can
Bakeries, everything.
Yeah. There, and I used to go there tons because where I live, it's like an hour away from me. So if we're going in that direction, I will always stop by. So to me, this is this is the place I go. Brought Joe there, and he has 2 pastrami, egg, and cheese on a roll, and has not stopped talking about it.
They were amazing.
Since. They were.
Absolutely
No,
amazing.
It's very good. I don't know if they'll sponsor us, but
No,
they are
probably
very
not.
good.
I just felt like bringing up the pastrami sandwich. It's gonna.
Don't come to Austin because I'll bring you to a barbecue joint that'll have you talking like that.
I could only imagine.
And we'll ruin barbecue anywhere else you eat it for the rest of your life.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay.
The next time I'm in Austin, I'm gonna hit you up and be like, "Let's see what this barbecue is."
The next time you're in Philly, you can always ask them to, I don't know, be a sponsor or something.
I'll give him my card.
Yeah, I mean,
Might have a discount every time you go, like a 10%.
It's the worst that could happen.
But
I was just in San Antonio, and
I'm sorry.
really, because I loved it. No,
It's a rivalry. It's the I-35 rivalry.
Okay, I apologize. I have family in Dallas, but I was
I'm doubly sorry.
Damn, it gets rough down there, huh?
Austin's the best city in the state. What can I say?
So the only place I haven't been to is Austin. So that's one of my trips.
Come on down.
absolutely will. But what I was trying to say was, you're already doing these things and you're already very excited about, what's out there. So to have the opportunity to work for the actual company and do what you're doing and getting paid and then moving forward throughout the industry is just an amazing opportunity. It's almost like a Cinderella story, it seems like. I mean, it's just like a dream come true to be doing that kind of work in my eyes.
Yeah. You're not wrong. In like Cinderella story, like that's a cool analogy. I was 28 years old whenever I joined the games industry. So as soon as I joined, I was older than everyone. Except for like the old guard.
Quite the shock.
Yeah, it was definitely a culture shock, and I had just moved to Los Angeles from Texas.
Double shock.
Yeah, so it was wild, but like it was also really cool, and it's been pretty awesome throughout the entirety of my career. And now that I'm up in like senior management, now everyone's my age, so I feel kind of good now.
No,
I get that.
Being up in the senior management position of community management, and this is a topic that I really wanted to bring up because the position of community manager throughout the industry with studios and companies and everything is such a important role because they are that buffer, that relay between the studio and the community and the player base and vice versa. And so much weight has to be on those individual shoulders because they have to be able to relay messages and feedback and data and everything else back and forth because they're go-to individual. They're very important. Being a senior community manager, what are some of the kind of duties of that, or the difficulties that you see?
Oh, well, there's a lot of difficulties.
I
live on the internet for a living. There's a difficulty. This is like the community manager role varies across literally every studio, every publisher, every company. Mm-hmm. It is different. Some are social media managers. It's just labeled a community manager. Some are forum moderators. Some are Discord moderators. Some are community marketers. It varies dependent on where you are.
Okay.
Some are everything all in one. When I was at AMD, I was community manager and I did social, forums, Discord, and influencers.
Oh my God.
I did all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been quite the load.
Yeah, it sucked. there's a reason I was only there for 6 months, but at the same time, it was valuable experience and told me like what part of the role that I really wanted to focus on. But where I'm at now, like a lot of what I do is strategy. It's a lot of building up, where are we going to talk? What social channels are we going to use? How are we going to take the feedback from the community and give it to the dev team? Because that feedback is invaluable, right? Like, cool, we can build whatever we want, but if the community says it sucks, then no one's going to use it whenever it's out publicly. So developing things like a feedback loop. Also making sure that devs are sticking to the timelines that they give us whenever we publish out things like a blog post or a roadmap. On top of that, handling things like tone of voice. What are we going to sound like online? I think that's a big one that a lot of people don't think about, especially in where I'm at and where I've worked at previously. It's defining what our voice is online. And how are we going to respond to people? Are we going to be like Xbox and we're going to use memes and be fun and keep up with current trends? Or are we going to be like Square Enix that is very succinct and to the point and about marketing their games? Like, and both are effective ways of doing it, but it's figuring out what really works. So currently I'm working, at my company and I'm building out strategy. I work hand in hand with marketing, which you may not know, but community and marketing go hand in hand. And then I also work with our dev team, and I make sure that everything our community says is in their hands so that they know, hey, if the community hates this aspect or this feature is not cool, they know to deprioritize that or to get us to send out a survey and say, hey, what would you like to see this change to? On top of that, we're basically a wall in front of the company and just get pelted with things day in and day out. It's part of the job.
Everything.
Gotta have thick skin. So it is what it is.
But even if it is part of the job, one of the questions I had was, how do you manage kind of this onslaught of the internet?
I drink a lot of beer. No, I'm kidding. I don't drink that much.
No, it's the scotch.
It's the scotch. You do have to take everything with a grain of salt, and it sucks that we have to do that. It sucks that we have to have thick skin. But I mean, most of the people around Guardians Mental Health play Destiny, see the Destiny community, and see how the community managers treated to a point to where they have their own Twitter handle now. They're not using their personal things.
Yes.
So a lot of times, if you're just being completely onslaughted, the company will defend you. I've been in positions where they won't. In fact, I was laid off from one. Whenever I was being harassed and doxxed, I got laid off because they didn't want to deal with it. But it just depends on where you're working. And for me, though, like at the end of the day, if it's been a hard day and there's been a lot of harassment or just a lot of like, can I cuss?
Oh,
sure. Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of bullshit that I'm dealing with day in and day out, then that is, in all honesty, an NCIS day. Like, I disconnect from the internet. I'll maybe play on Twitter, but for the most part, I disconnect. This is also a reason that I have not published where I'm working. Last time I did, people found all my personal accounts and came after me whenever things weren't going the way that they wanted to, and especially because I was working on Star Wars games, which if you can't tell by my arm and all the Star Wars stuff behind me, I am also a fan. So it kind of sucked to be attacked day in and day out by Star Wars community members.
They can be vicious. Absolutely vicious, too.
Awful.
It's
so
almost like you can never make everyone happy.
Yeah.
No.
You can't.
It's impossible.
It is impossible, but you can do your best. So now at the new gig, I go by a different username. Nelstar 15 is nowhere to be found. And I, unless we're connections on LinkedIn, you don't know where I work. And it's just one of the protections that I've taken. And what's funny, or not funny, what's wild is that this is becoming more common for community managers. I have 3 friends who all in the past year started new jobs as community managers and just didn't reveal where they're working and are just doing their job.
You know what? Sometimes you need that separation, that balance right there, because you utilize these platforms for work. to interact with the communities and everything, but you need that separation between your private life, your personal connections and friendships and your own opinions, so on and so forth, than your professional side. When you muddle it all together, like you said, you get doxxed, you get hate mail all the time, you got to get thick skin. I can only imagine, having that sort of pressure and, sort of attacks weighing on you. I mean, it would depress me, in at certain points. But just hearing that you've created those separations is absolutely amazing, and you can actually see it actually going over to other companies now. Like you mentioned, the Destiny community managers all have just their own Destiny community manager, page, and all their personal ones are separated, even though it's, kind of a little late, but, but it's going to work well in the long run, because it allows people to still relax and utilize the platforms and not just get, I'll do a post on yours wishing you happy birthday, Nell, and all of a sudden somebody will comment, fix your damn game. And it's like, I'm wishing my friend a happy birthday. What does that have to do with the game? And just having that separation, I think, is very healthy overall.
Yeah, for the longest time, I wasn't able to have the separation. Whenever I was directly working with content creators, like, I built up such a Rolodex that, like, people followed me on Twitter to see what games Square was giving out keys for. So my personal Twitter became work. And so I wasn't able to do that. And now that I've gone back into, like, just full-blown community management, I've been able to separate, which has been really nice.
That's awesome.
But to piggyback on those things, the role of community manager has been coming up in importance, kind of coming up more and more, where if you go back to when we were younger and like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and 64 days, where you really didn't see it outside of like trade shows or like Nintendo Power, because the internet wasn't really a thing. You had some people talk about it, but we didn't have like this community focus. So people would just deal with the frustrations that they had. But now with the internet and the immediacy of communication, we've seen kind of this uptick of people just feeling the anonymity of like spewing whatever they want in whatever way they want.
Oh, because they got, I mean, the internet, inadvertently created a safety net for people to hide behind a screen name, a gamer tag, this and that. And, I mean, you don't know who, well, everybody knows who I am. I'm very open about it. But Mountain Gear 64, nobody knows that his, name's, Billy Bob and lives in, the Appalachian Trail or something like that. Now, nobody knows his real name, what his day job is, this and that. You kind of get that kind of like, almost like a little bit of buffer in between you and socializing with people. You can be a little bit more open or brazen, and be a little bit more opinionated because they don't know who I am, and that's an unfortunate side effect, I think, of that.
Yeah, and there were studies done. I believe it was Blizzard that had done the studies through WoW, where they kind of changed. People had to associate their real name.
Yeah, they did real ID.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the real IDs, in the hopes that it would tone down the anonymity, and it didn't really work.
No, I still play WoW. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, communities, like the growth of community management and the importance of community management growing over the past, I would even say the past 5 years, right? And the time that, even past 8 years, the time that I've been around, from community management being the bottom of the totem pole to now some of the most important things, and depending on where you work, really well paid because of what we deal with. But there's a lot of struggles that come with it still because of that anonymity and what we have to deal with.
Is there any like protection in place outside of like your own safeguarding, right? Do companies at times, do they offer extra protections from doxing or any I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like, is there anything that could be offered?
Yeah, some do.
Okay.
Some find ways to protect you.
Okay.
There was some stuff that happened whenever I was at Square, and Square Legal got involved and issued a cease and desist.
Okay.
So there are ways that companies will protect you, and if it's a solid company, they'll go out of the way to make sure that their employees are taken care of, which is really cool.
That's nice to hear, right? And I think for me, that's not something that I personally have heard of. So it is nice to hear at least that some companies will try to like at least step in and help to protect, because hearing and seeing it on Twitter, as hurtful or as horrendous as it might be, there's a way to like shrug that off in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
The physical aspect of it, the death threats that we've heard so much about, the leaking of IP address, which leads to address information, right? Like all of that, that's real physical cause for harm and concern.
Yeah.
They're real people.
Yes.
The thing I can think about is the whole thing with swatting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How people have died because of swatting.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna be real. Like whenever I move into a new apartment, I call my local Austin PD precinct and I'm like, hey, here's what I do for a living. Here's what I do in my free time.
Yeah.
If anyone's calling about a hostage situation in my apartment, trust me, it's not happening. It's literally just me and my dog.
Yeah.
And probably a cold beer. Like we're just hanging out, and they're like, we know what swatting is. Thank you for letting us know where you live. All that stuff. So at least now, police departments, whether they're effective or not in the U.S. these days, know what it is and are willing to listen when people call in and say, hey, this is what I do for a living.
Right.
Because for so long, they didn't really know what it was or really care to understand what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a thing before.
No.
I remember the YouTube videos of like it happening, but then the reactions afterwards. And like you can see in certain people, like it is genuinely like a post-traumatic type of response to something like that. To bring it to like even just like a popular name, Cutie Cinderella. I caught her on a podcast once, and she was talking about it. And the things that she was saying, it's like I didn't sleep for days. She's dating Ludwig, who was doing like the whole subathon. He was just streaming for like months and months at a time. And she goes, we're gonna get swatted. And the feeling of anxiety and stress and concern about it. And I say this to reiterate, like these are human beings. These are people. These are not machines and robots who don't have,
they have lives outside of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think that's a hard thing too, is living with the idea that this could happen at any moment, especially with, as a streamer and as someone who works in the industry and all that. It's something I talk to my therapist about quite frequently. I'm like, I'm afraid that someone might hurt me because of a game that I work on. And that is wild. And we saw it happen with Bungie, right? Like that guy that got all of DMG's information and sent out all these threats. Like that is my ultimate fear. And I mean, now I'm not working on titles that are going to be big enough to worry about that. But at the same time, that threat is ever present.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you never know who is on the other side of the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what button can be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
So to switch gears from doom and gloom, even though
it's talking about the great things, because I love my job.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did want to get into, and obviously that stuff is very, very real.
It's part of the whole mental health aspect of it.
Of course. No, of course. And again, I'm glad to hear a couple of things that you mentioned. One, that jobs actually do take care of you in some way, shape, or form. But I also heard the self-care aspect of therapist and being able to talk to them about this, being able to process this, being able to be like, how do I stay in a job that I love with an overall, like, sometimes feeling of, holy crap, something's going to happen. So, but yeah, no, what do you love about your job?
Literally everything. So what we've all just touched on is probably about 1% of my job.
Yeah.
Right. Like the bad stuff is 1% of it. And it's because, one, I love what I do. Two, we are trained to brush it off. Right. Again, thick skin. And again, it's a shitty way to look at it, but brushing it off, and because there's really nothing you can do aside from finding that person, banning them from your game.
Right.
But I love being able to interact with people from all over the world, from all walks of life, all creeds, all religions, all races, all sexual orientation, all genders. Like, I get to interact with everyone. And it is so cool to hear so many stories and then work on games that are where people will come up to me, be like, this game changed my life. This community changed my life. And I love that more than anything, as someone who Destiny's community changed my life. Because I literally would not be here on this podcast right now if it wasn't for Destiny 10 years ago, which is wild to think of. First of all, that's 10 years old, but that it led to all this. God, I'm getting old.
God.
I know. I still say that I remember playing the alpha after E3. And it's been that long, back in 2014.
Dude,
Jesus Christ, really?
I was in my 20s when it came out.
I was 24.
I was 27, 26, 26.
I was 25.
Something like that.
We're all elder millennials. I get it.
I know Bird Ninja's in chat, and she's gonna make fun of me. But
she's the young one.
Yes. But oh god, that hurts
so yeah, I mean, so back to your question. There are fun things. Like, if I'm doing something on social that day, like, who's not gonna say that shit posting on Twitter is not fun, right? Like, that is a part of my job. Right? Like, I just took over overseeing the social for one of my company's esports teams. And so it's super fun because esports social is all about memes, all about having fun. And so, like, today I spent all day writing copy for next week, and it was, what memes can I throw in? What's trending right now? What are people talking about? And how can we have fun? And then again, on the flip side, like, the people I get to talk to are genuinely interested in being a part of a community. And it's great for work, because as a content creator on the side, you almost lose that aspect of being a part of community. Because I remember what it was like to play WoW 20 years ago, whenever I first started playing in vanilla, and I would log in every night and I would hop in a Ventrilo server with my group of buds that were from all over the US. And we would just play WoW. There were 10 of us, 20 of us, right? And we would hang out. And as a content creator, that sense of community is gone, right? Like, there's not that group of people that I just log into a server and talk to and hang out and play games with, because I'm live. I don't want 12 people talking, right? So part of that aspect is gone. And especially someone who really never focused on growing their community too large, I always just keep streaming as a way to raise money for charity. And I don't want to lose that platform. So for work, being able to now log into these servers or onto whatever I'm working on and talk with a large group of people who are genuinely excited to be there is one of the most fulfilling and awesome things in the world.
It's incredible. I love it. I love hearing that. And if I missed this already, I apologize. For where you currently are, do you still have that connection, and do you work with influencers as well too, and content creators, or is it primarily just a community relation within, like, social media and other places like that?
Yes to all of the above.
Awesome. Awesome.
I try not to overload myself, but then whenever
Yeah.
people are like, "Hey, can you help with this?" and I have experience and I have knowledge, I want to help educate people, especially when it comes to like creator relations and how you're running creator campaigns and stuff. I want to help educate people so
Right.
that moving forward, they're more knowledgeable and they're treating creators with the respect that they deserve.
That's important.
100%.
But what you were mentioning earlier about writing copy for using memes, there's a whole science behind memes about how we communicate and how do we communicate effectively with memes. And we wouldn't have had this without the internet.
Yeah.
So it's a great and horrible thing all at the same time.
My job would not exist without the internet, right? Without the internet, there is no community management. It's just plain and simple. I ain't sure back in the day with like Doom and all the, like, if we're talking about older games, there were people who managed communities, but it was still all internet based. It wasn't like it is now. We're talking about forum moderators, right? And stuff like that. I don't know how D&D managed a community back in the 80s. I have no idea. It's absolutely wild to think about. And now I'm gonna have to go look it up later.
When you find out, let me know, because I'm curious about that too.
Yeah.
I think I remember reading where a lot of community members, again, they didn't really have the internet. They would send out like monthly letters.
Yeah,
By
that's
the
where
post.
newsletters came from.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess also you have like the local community, right? Like you would go to your comic book shop and play D&D or play Magic back in the day. I know I did. I went to my local comic book shop and played Magic every Friday afternoon.
D&D. Second edition. Done at Fat Cat Books. I'll never forget. It's amazing.
Because it's progressed in a way where it's less about I'm just soaking up information as like someone in the community as to I'm being part of the conversation and having some real input.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to add to that. You're right. Like the input there, right? I don't know how to add to that. That was such a succinct statement.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to work on reaching a balance in terms of getting the information and expecting that everything that we want from a game or project is going to meet our own expectations, because there are very few perfect games.
And even
most
then,
of the-
you're going to find people that complain about something.
Oh yeah. Example, watching a review yesterday. I think I was watching yesterday about Metroid Prime Remastered. Phenomenal game.
Danu, what's up?
In my book,
thank you
it's
so much
10
for
out
the
of
sub.
10.
Appreciate you so much.
It's
Thanks for
one
stopping
of the greatest
by.
games of all time. But someone was complaining that with the new lighting system, they removed the flare that the old GameCube game had of when you charged up your beam, it would have like a flare on your gun, and that is missing from this particular version. So it can be like a master remaster, but yet it will pick on those little things.
Yeah. It happens, right? Like, and this goes back to us saying, like, you're never going to make everyone happy. Like, I remember whenever we launched Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was,
Phenomenal game.
yeah, one of the biggest games I've ever worked on. And everyone was mad because it wasn't a point remake of the original. I was like, you guys have to understand, this isn't a remaster. This is a remake. They are remaking it with today's technology, with a different story, but using the same characters. And no one wanted to accept that. And like Final Fantasy VII fans were mad. And I'm like, I don't know why you're mad. This game is amazing. And I love 7 Original. 7 Original is the only Final Fantasy I've played. And have both, you know?
Well, it almost makes me think of The Last of Us. So the HBO show, it's almost like a remake. it is
good.
taking the source
I
material,
can't wait till Sunday.
but changing it, and it's so good. And I think I remember reading something from Neil Druckmann saying, "I wish we would have done this in the original game."
That was making Sam.
He said there's
You're
so
on
many.
mute.
Oh yeah, Joe, you're on mute. I was gonna say there. He said in the after
You're
the
on mute.
episode for episode 3, right? He's like, there are so many things in the game that we can't do in a live action show, and there's things in the game that we want to explore. We wanted to explore further, but we couldn't.
Yep.
So we're gonna explore it in the show.
Yeah, because the show is more like narrative, character based, whereas the game has to have like the combat.
Mm-hmm.
Although the combat at the end of episode 5 was just amazing.
I don't want to watch an episode of Joel dying 75 times in a row like I did in the game.
I know,
And then
right?
magically respawning.
And I'm
trying to
very
figure out how to get past the clicker.
you know, and I think here is sort of that issue that I think we as a mental health org have seen, and somebody like yourself now who has dealt with it within the community, right? How do you differentiate, and whether it's just like a legitimate workflow or process wherever you're working, or whether it's more personal, how do you differentiate between like that constructive, I guess, sort of feedback versus pure unadulterated trolls?
Good question.
So, first and foremost, one of my biggest things that I have is a feedback loop. It's how I take in feedback, where I document it, how I present it to the devs, how they comment on it, and then how they provide me information to respond to the community. This is a big old circle that we work on.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most important things in community management. And to your actual question of how do we differentiate, it is a judgment call based on the community manager.
Gotcha. Okay.
I there are things that I see that I know are a troll or that I know is complete hate. That is actual good feedback that I will put in. But there's a lot of stuff that is trolling and hate that I'm like, this is crap. They don't need to see this. The devs don't need to deal with this stress because they're already stressed as hell developing the game. Right. So it's a judgment call. There's times where I see stuff and I'm like, they need to see this, and there are times where I'm like, they don't. But there's been plenty of times where I'll put things into the feedback loop and they're like, we already know, or we don't give a shit. Like, because that's like a core functionality of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there were times with Outriders, people are like, I don't like that it's third person, and people can fly. We're like, tough titties, dude. Like, it's a third person shooter. Like it or hard to like it.
Right.
Or go play something else.
Or go play something else. They're like, we're Gears of War developers. What do you?
Right. We've mastered the third party shooter here.
So
My brother-in-law still plays the shit out of Outriders.
So do I.
He really
So do
does.
I.
He's tried to get me into it, and it's like, I have other games to play. I still haven't gotten to it.
I still play Gears of War. I think it's a great game.
So do I.
I did Tactics. It was on the pass, and I did Tactics.
Tactics is good.
I like that.
But so I love that it's a judgment call, but I can also hear like even that. But it's also that combing through literal trolls. So have there been moments where it was just a pure unadulterated troll hatred, but it was like, shit, I got to bring this back to the team because it kind of makes sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's been some stupid stuff that I've seen, and I'm like, this guy is being a troll, but this is also a good idea, so I'm going to present it to the team.
Yeah.
And you see things get implemented, right? Like, there are some troll things that happen through Marvel's Avengers that we brought up to the team in our we used to have a little like ambassador program. We'd bring it up in the calls that we would have with them, and they'd be like, oh, that's actually a good idea. I know they're trolling, but we're going to work on this. Also, rest in peace, that game.
Oh, did it officially? Did servers go down?
No, they're sunsetting it in September.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I didn't know that. I missed that one.
I cried. Don't worry.
Because there's so many games where, and you can maybe fill me in on this or clarify things, where they kind of go through cycles, like peaks and valleys. So new content drops, there's a peak of everyone's enjoying it, and then things start to dwindle. Where they start to see some of the bugs or some of the the launch of D2. The campaign was great. Everyone was overjoyed about how good it was, and then we kind of all hit that content wall.
Yeah. And that's games as a service, right?
Yeah.
That's games as a service. It's something you have to be prepared for, and it's something like for like Avengers, it's something I prepared for whenever I was developing my influencer plan. I was like, where are the peaks going to be? Where are the valleys going to be? Because the peaks are going to be where I reach out to my creator friends and I'm like, hey, you should play it again. Let's get some coverage. And the valleys are going to be where we're only working with our ambassadors and we're doing our Q&As and we're trying to understand what we can improve with the game. And Destiny is such a unique example because it has such a passionate fan base in a genre that doesn't have any competitors, right? Everybody wanted to say that Outriders was a competitor. Outriders is literally Borderlands, if you want to compare it, right?
Yeah.
Outriders is a third-person in-space Borderlands.
People are comparing Borderlands to Destiny.
Which you can't. You play through it, and then you can replay the end bosses, right? And you can go farm other loot, but you're done. There's no social aspect to it like Destiny.
Right.
And you see it with Destiny, right? Like there's been a lot of feedback over the past couple of years with the seasonal based model and a lot of headaches that have probably come and gone through that community team. But they've listened to feedback and we're seeing that. We saw that in Joe Blackburn's like state of the game post where, hey, these are ready 3 months before they come out, but we've been listening, and so there are going to be seasons coming up where it's not the vendor model, and we're going to try different things, and we've been listening. So you plan for the peaks and the valleys, right? You plan for content drops. That is an inevitable aspect of games as a service, right? Like I'm playing WoW, right? And at the end of Shadowlands for a year, there was nothing to do. For a full year of World of Warcraft, there was nothing to do unless you were a raider. And I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was a casual, enjoy a little bit of PvP here, do some other questing or mountain farming there, but there was no content. And you just plan for those droughts.
Being in the games industry, how much have you seen like community expectation change when it comes to live service games?
Oh, they want everything and they want it now. I blame J.G. Wentworth for those stupid commercials. My money and I want it now.
Oh my God. Were those national?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was regional.
Nah. When NSYNC does a commercial, it's national.
God.
Yeah. So, but everything is instant gratification now. And it didn't used to be that way. And it wasn't that way when I first started in the industry. Hell, 4 years ago when we launched Control and I was at 505 Games, like it wasn't like that, but it's changed. This mentality of we need changes in the game that we're playing now, and we want exactly what we want, and we see that with so many gas games, and it's unattainable. It is an unattainable goal to keep the community happy and give them what they want as fast as they want it.
Yeah, especially if you want to put out quality.
Yes.
It's the Fortnite curse, where Fortnite's putting out a new update, every couple weeks?
Shit, it's almost like every week.
Yeah, and you know how big that team is?
Right.
Oh, I'm sure it's massive. I'm sure it's international, too.
No one else is that big. Epic made billions off of that game.
I'm sure there's still
billions. Yes.
Is it still in beta? I never really checked if...
Yes, it is. It makes no sense.
That game is still in beta?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I think there was a reason why it's still in beta, because some other franchises took up the same mantle as, them leading by example, and they left their games in beta as well.
It's because
it's always in development. It's never finished.
Exactly. There's some I don't know what word I'm looking for. There's some shit with like the naming of a final product of a game, and if it's continually in development, then technically it's never officially ready.
Yeah.
But then you could argue that World of Warcraft, Destiny, Guild Wars, and all those games are always in development. I don't know. Maybe Epic's just lazy and they don't want to say it's launched. I love all
I
my friends that
feel-
work at Epic. I just
Because it's
It's
different.
just more so the
than-
title of it being a beta that doesn't make sense.
Well, I think it's just because it's also a game mode too. When they released Fortnite, it was you're
True.
fighting zombies and monsters and all that stuff, and they released this battle royale,
Royale,
as
yeah.
a beta, and that's what catapulted
That's what
that
took off,
entire
yeah.
franchise into the stratosphere. I play Fortnite. I'm not gonna lie, I play Fortnite for
dragged
my
me to
daughter.
Fortnite the other day.
I
I
did,
played it once.
and Matt too.
Yeah.
It was
But
fun.
those multiplayer games are so different than the single player games, where I know like Horizon just dropped a expansion. What was it, yesterday? And they're like self-contained as compared to like the massive multiplayer onlines, where there are so many more things in it that could go wrong. And
Let me
I
tell you
think
about
that
launches.
The QA team,
Could
I'm sure,
imagine.
cannot find every single bug that millions of people playtesting a game will inevitably find.
I put it on Twitter. I think every time there's a Destiny update, that there's zero way to perfectly QA a game before it goes into a live environment. It's just not possible. You do your best, and but then things break. Thanks, Telesto.
Is it safe to say another reason for that too? Because I think there's unfortunately this mentality, right, where everybody goes into the past. And I think everybody is victim to this, not just boomers in a sense, right? Where we go into the past of video games, where the game launched, it was on a disc, and that was it. Is it
the
also
nostalgia of it, the
Yeah, but
rose-colored glasses?
right? But is it also the idea too, right? The games have become much more complex than that, just in development wise, just in structure wise. That games do tend to release with a patch at launch or consistent and constant updates. And how, as a community manager, would you even express that? Like, does that get through to the masses or no?
Yes and no, but I mean,
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people need to realize that Duke Nukem came on a floppy disk, and Forspoken is 120 gigs.
Hell yes, it did.
I had Duke Nukem.
So,
God, I wish
yeah,
I still
so
had
did I. I
that.
had
Did you?
returned to Yes, I had returned to Castle Wolfenstein on MS DOS.
yeah.
I had the
Oh, you're
Doom
bringing me
floppy
back.
disk.
The original first-person shooter, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Before Doom.
we do what we can to prepare. I mean, there is, to keep it on topic with you guys, like there's a lot of like mental health like preparation that we do as well, right?
Yeah.
Like preparing for a launch and understanding, hey, we have a day one patch because the final touches on a game broke something somewhere, right? Because a game is never finished until the day that it comes out.
And even
We'll go
then,
through all the checks. Yeah, even then it's never done, right? According
Right.
to the internet. This game's broken. It's shit. It's terrible. But we have to prepare, one, for messaging. How are we going to message that there's a day one patch? What are we going to message about preloads? Why can't you play it before this time? And then we have to prepare, again, like mentally and emotionally, what we're going to deal with coming in, and really be prepared with, like I said, I will come back to the feedback loop because it is the most important thing.
But it makes sense.
Yeah, and how are we gonna go from we were in a beta test and we had 1,000 people to now there are 2 million people playing the game? And how are we gonna take that feedback in, and how are we gonna sift through it and all that jazz? So for like a day one patch, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, the dev side is completely different from what I'm doing, right? Like,
No, of course. Yeah.
there is comparatively they're doing more. But I'm like, how am I not going to lose my mind or go drink a 12-pack of beer after lunch?
Right.
And so you just prepare. Use your past experiences. I will go back and look at some of the harder launches that I had, like Outriders and Marvel's Avengers. But then I will go and look at some of the good launches I had, like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Control, and Bloodstain. Bloodstain will always be my, like, if you want to go look at it, one of the best launches I've ever seen was that game. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it was great.
Oh, toot away.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. Before the game launched, I got to have a margarita with Koji Igarashi. which Castlevania Symphony of the Night's my favorite
Heck
game.
yeah.
So it was great.
Neptune, thank you so much for the
there's
follow.
just a lot
Love
of
the
preparation
name.
and making sure that you're ready for the influx of communication. So we have to set up processes and workflows with the dev team, with the comms team, right? Because community managers aren't always a part of the comms team. Sometimes we're under player services. And so it's making sure that every single workflow is set, everyone's committed to it, everybody understands when we get this piece of information, how it goes through the chain of custody.
Yeah. Can you be creative? Because I can see. Can you be creative in how you respond to the community?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you do a Wendy's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
with companies I've worked for, no, I can't
Right.
be a Wendy's, right? Like I worked for Square Enix. Like our social team was never
Right,
able
and
to be like that.
And I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. Like, I know a lot of big business probably has their hands kind of in everything, and whether we think that's right or not, immaterial, in certain cases. And I guess that's why I ask about the creativity aspect. Like, are you able to meet sort of the gamer where they are at that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have fun. It may not be on official channels.
Yeah.
But there are places that will have fun. Like we had a big ambassador program for Outriders, and we had fun in the Discord with that team, right?
Okay.
Like 350 people, and we were shooting the shit, posting GIFs, posting memes, just having a grand old time because it was either that or lose our sanity because the servers were down for the first 8 hours of launch.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
There's nothing you can do.
No. And that, if you want like a master class in how to properly pivot a communication strategy, I would go look at Outriders. Go look at the month leading up to launch and how they communicated, and then go look after launch and how it pivoted straight to transparency on everything we were doing. That is a master class on communications.
Yeah.
It makes me think of a lot of the Battlefield launches. Because I remember when Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 launched, they were kind of crap. It's like, oh, it's another Battlefield game, and they launch broken, and they ended up being some of the best first-person shooters out there.
Yeah. Rough launch doesn't mean the game's going to be bad.
Right.
Launches are hard. They are, we have been mentally and emotionally and physically invested in this game for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to a split second that it goes live on Steam. And then one thing goes wrong. And it takes a toll, right? And so we've worked up to this moment, and we're excited. We got cupcakes in the commissary. We're having a great time. Most of the time, there's booze involved. We're having a great time, and then it'll go live, and someone will be like, "Shit, the servers are down," and so
That's
like
chaos mode.
Then it's chaos mode, and everyone has to keep like themselves in check. Again, it is a mental game launching a game. It is mentally taxing. I do double therapy sessions when I launch games. Like I need to talk extra, because it is this wild moment, and you don't know if everything's gonna work. And if it does, then great. But if not, then you do what you're paid for, essentially.
Because you're almost sitting on the powder keg.
Yeah, that's I would have put C4 instead of a powder keg.
And you're trying to minimize the explosions from the community, realistically, if you want to keep with that analogy.
Yeah.
You're trying to upkeep and uphold, and tell me if I'm wrong, like you're trying to upkeep the company in the sense on a community level of like, we know what's happening, we know what's going on, this is what we're doing, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there reading. I'm putting myself in this situation, and I'm going to be bluntly honest. I don't think I could fucking do it because basically because of what you said, right? You're invested in this game for like 5 years. You start to love this game. This game becomes a strong part of your life.
It's a part of your daily life. I mean.
Yeah.
And then I guess in the offshot that you did love it, you're now watching over 2,000 people potentially telling, not you, but telling the game, you suck.
Because it's blaming first and foremost are going to look at the community manager to blame like the devs, to then blame like the company and publisher. And I think this is where like the books from Jason Schreier's The Blood, Sweat, and Pixels really help to shed some light behind the curtain on how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
That because of the internet, because of how anonymous things are now, people don't understand that it's real people working on these games, that they're trying to do their best, and games are hard. They are
really
much
hard.
more complex than like the initial Wolfenstein.
Well, that too, and people tend to kind of downplay how much work and effort go into this, and how much investment go into developing everything from marketing, communication, to programming, to coding, to testing, to every other thing, art, design, everything up and down, all to be put into a nice little package to be released to the masses. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible that any game gets released just for the sheer fact of how much goes into it. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I've
why
watched...
we have producers, if I'm being honest. That's why producers role at a game studio. If you don't know, they're the ones that keep basically the thread woven still. They keep it from unraveling. Producers are, I mean, in my mind, they are the most important people in game development because they make sure that shit has not hit the fan 24/7.
Well, it makes me think of like back in like the Nintendo days, like the early NES, they could flip a game in what, 6 months, 8 months?
That must be nice.
Who?
Yeah, I mean, but look at how bad they were. E.T., that's literal landfills of E.T. out there, right? Like,
if you got one, you're rich, because those things, the worst. What was it? It was the worst game ever released in history.
Yeah, it's the worst game ever made.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
E.T. I can't believe you just dropped an E.T. Oh my god.
Of course. If you haven't watched there's a history video games documentary on Netflix. I think it's called like Level Up or something like that. Go watch it. Also, I have friends that are in that documentary. It's really good. It'll give you a great idea of where we've come from Pong to like the founding of EA, of Electronic Arts. Before it was EA, it was Electronic Arts, and their sports games. Like, that is a great documentary. But I mean, there's also the adverse side of game launches, right? Like whenever Outriders launched, I'm the public face because, right, I'm the guy who's dealing with all the influencers, and I'm on my social channels, and I'm outwardly talking to people. And like, I had a breakdown. I'm not afraid to admit it. I tweeted it out. I was like, fuck you guys. I'm not a dev. I don't know what's going on with the servers. Stop blaming me for shit. Stop attacking me. Go, like, literally go fuck yourselves. Like, and like, I was done. I logged off for the day. I was like, I told my boss, I was like, I can't deal with this right now. And that is the ugly side of being a forward-facing employee at a game studio. And I mean, it was wild. The amount of support that poured out from the industry, though, right? Like, there were people that I have never met, but that I have looked up to in this industry, that are communications managers or C-level people at companies like Epic and Ubisoft, that reached out to me and were like, hey, you're not alone. We've all done this. If you need to talk, we're here. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss out looking from the outside in to the industry, is that we really are. It's like being in high school again, but in the best possible way. Everybody knows everyone. It's a very small industry. And so whenever you do have that mental health crisis in working in video games, you are not alone, right? There are a lot of people who have been through exactly what you've been through, who have had the same struggles that you have whenever you launch a game, or when you launch a DLC, or just whenever you're doing anything in the industry and you're receiving some shit. So there's a lot of support internally. And like, I will name drop. There's a guy named Guy, who works for ReedPop, but during the pandemic, he founded a games industry gathering called GIG. Started
Yeah,
off, yeah. Started
we know
off
them
at-
well.
Yeah. So obviously started off as hotel lobby bar because
Yep.
Friday nights were like, let's get drunk and hang out on Zoom. It was the very beginning of the pandemic, and then eventually turned into what it is now. And because of that, like my network and my group of friends has grown exponentially. And I know like if something bad like that happens again, I have a solid support group because of Guy and building that. And I remember going to the very first one. And it was really cool, and I
Lucky.
still go to them.
Do you do any of the virtual ones? I was on
Oh,
the
yeah.
one this month. I didn't say
Yeah.
anything. I think the next one's like March 2nd or something like that, but I'm looking
It's the
forward
first
to
Friday of every month, and
Yeah.
if you're in the games industry, I highly suggest you look into that. Or if you're games adjacent, like you guys are, obviously look into Gig. It is a great resource not only for networking, and I know people who found mentors through Gig.
Yes.
They also have a place for students to join and learn about the industry, and but for the
Every
most
facet
part,
of the industry.
every
Everything.
it's fantastic. But this industry is so great whenever it comes to mental health, and that's like one of the reasons I've stayed in games. When I was laid off in October, I was, I mean, a millimeter away from leaving games and going and doing community management in some other industry. But if it wasn't for that support group, I would have left.
I love just hearing. I rarely hear anybody talk about gigs, so it's really amazing for you to give such a positive shout out for them and what Guy built, and that it's absolutely incredible inside that. Just the Discord server is absolutely impactful, and I just, like you said, Matt, are you in that server?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do one of the meet and greets. Plus, we're gonna have to sign up for PAX for that one, for the live one, because now they're doing the live ones again, which those are a lot of fun.
I won't be at PAX, but
I mean,
next
it's
event
a
I get
short flight for you. I'm just saying now.
to. Listen, if work's not sending me to events, then I'm not going.
Fair.
I did my convention circuit on my own dime, and I'm more content to stay here and cuddle with Moxley, who is currently passed the F out right next to me.
His eyes are rolling in the back of his head. He's out.
Oh, same.
Oh, sorry, I woke up.
Oh, no, he just opened his eyes and gave me the side eye.
Yeah.
He's mad at me. I woke him up.
Right,
But
yeah.
what you were mentioning, the mental health aspect of the games industry as compared to other like company facing or community facing organizations. I remember way back when I worked in a call center for essentially just we were doing mail-in rebates when those were really a thing, and people were nasty. The turnaround at the company was a couple months.
Ooh.
People will last 2-3 months, and they were just cycle employees.
Well, just I know we're getting close towards the end, but just off that top, just touching on that, the real scary thing was the game industry can also be a meat grinder as well. They're grabbing this fresh talent right out of college, burning right through them. There was a few places that were in the news several years ago that were just, their turnover rate was just astronomical, and they were just chewing through these individuals
Wasn't
right out of
BioWare
college. I
one
can't
of them?
remember who it was.
The industry just it churns people out. Like it will spit you out a different person than you were when you joined, and it's because some of these bigger and older companies are still the old boys club, and I mean I'll call them out. You see it with Activision. Activision's still that old boys club, and now they're literally being sued by the government because of it, and that kind of shit takes a toll on your mental health. And luckily, I've worked at great companies. There are some that I wish I had never joined. There's only one that I wish I'd never joined. But at the end of the day, I did, and I learned from it, and I have valuable experience to come out of it. But not everyone can say that. But I've also been very picky of where I've gone and worked. I had a job offer from Activision, and I turned it down, and it was more money than I've ever seen. And I was like, it's just not worth it. One, I'm not moving back to Los Angeles. I'm moving back to Austin during the pandemic. I'm not leaving my hometown probably ever again. And there are just bad companies out there. And unfortunately, it's some of your favorite developers and publishers. It really is. The bigger they are, the worse they are. Except for whenever it comes to companies like Bungie and Square, and that's working for Xbox.
Amazing.
You know, yeah, but I mean, look at the companies that are in the news. It's Activision, it's Blizzard, it's Ubisoft, it's Epic, right? It's the biggest names in the industry. EA though has turned over a leaf, right? Like, you haven't heard bad things about EA internally for about 5 or 6 years now, because all that shit came out about them, and they're like, we need to change, and they put a focus on their employees and their employees' lives outside of work, and things have changed to the point to where, whenever I was interviewing, I was a final candidate for a position at EA, and I would have taken it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Almost like they were put in a position where they were forced to change.
Change is never easy.
But it could be that maybe force, but also maybe it never got to a certain level within the company for them to see what was actually happening on the ground floor, on the front line with all the developers, what was going on, the fraternity styles, this and that, old boys club. And then these people are worrying about completely different things, and they're like, wait, what's happening? And they're just unaware of it because communication wasn't there. It could be a multitude of just reasons why those things happened. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's also could be something that is very possible.
But I mean, in the 8 years I've been in the industry, it's changed, right? Like, every company that I've worked for in the past 2 years has offered mental health assistance, which is absolutely amazing. And benefits have gotten better. Pay is still shit. But,
That's everywhere.
Yeah. God. But things have gotten better, right? Like, I remember what it was like whenever I was working at 505. You know, I was young and fresh, 27 years old. And like, 505 was great. You know, I tweeted about it not too long ago. Like, I should have never left 505, and I stand by that. But sometimes you have to leave to grow and to learn, and I did. And I got the chance to work at Square Enix. But I was at 505 and had friends working at Activision and Riot and all these places in LA, and they were all talking about how terrible everything is. And I'd be like, I'm just not going to talk because my day was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, and my boss made sure that I signed up for therapy. You know, it's like, it's wild how different each company is.
I think it comes from, like, the internal values of the company to push it on the employees. Like you mentioned, making sure that you signed up for therapy, for mental health services. Certainly in this type of industry, within this type of role you had, was almost paramount.
We get not newsletters, but we get flyers in the mail with reminders throughout the year. Have you checked out, your mental health care? Have you checked out, doctors on your phone? Have you checked out this? Physical therapy? Have you checked out this? And I think those reminders were key to remind me that, oh, this is available to me.
Yeah, I love that. Like, my boss at my current company is one of the best people I've ever worked for, and she is absolutely amazing. She's like, if you need a day, take a day. Right? The world's not going to end because you didn't work for a day. What are you missing out on? Building out a few PowerPoint slides? Like, the world's not going to end. Feedback's not going to be answered for a day. Great, you don't have your feedback meeting until Wednesdays anyways. You can take a day. She is pushing for us to take our vacations. Like, go out and do your stuff. So I have 2 weeks off when Lightfall launches because she told me to. I was like, hey, I'm going to take off the first week. She's like, well, you told me about the raid. I don't know what that is, but take off more time.
It sounds like my boss.
Yeah. And so, I've been fortunate to work, actually, my entire career, except for one company, under very strong and powerful women. And I think that is something we're seeing change in the industry too, is that we're seeing more diversity be promoted.
It's also bringing a different approach.
Yes. and I love everyone that I've worked for. You know, it's still my boss at 505, who I only worked for 2 years, and I have not worked with since 2019, still sends me a Christmas card. We still text. I whenever I have any problems or I'm stuck or anything, I go back and I text her. I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And I guess she's my mentor, right? Like, she's the one that gave me a chance. I remember walking out of the premiere of It to a voicemail that I got the job, right? Like, I still remember every aspect of that job. So it is, you know, a lot of the mental health aspect of working in games depends on who you're working with and working for.
Yeah. And the access to it as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being able to have access to it, being able to, you know, not get singled out or targeted if you're using it as well, too, is definitely key.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and again, that's why when you mentioned that just even at the start, I was very glad to hear that at least during your career, there's been support from, management and other people, because it is great to have the support of coworkers, but also for meaningful change to happen, you do need the support and sort of the people up top to be on board for things like that to occur.
You have to.
Yeah, there's no other way to make any type of change.
Way that I've always seen like community management is almost the community's therapist, where you're able to take everyone's shit, take it with you, bring it into like the dev team, and then bring a solution out.
Yeah.
So you're holding on, you're kind of in between both, holding on to everything. But the person can only take so much.
Yeah, that is true, and I think that's why, like, as a community manager, if you can afford it, get a dog. But at the same time, I've always said that I work for the community, not for the company that I work for, right? Because I work for them. I am making sure that they are heard and that they are represented internally at any meeting that I'm in, that they are heard. We say this, you have to have thick skin, but at the end of the day, I have thick skin and I can brush things off because I go to therapy and I talk about it, right? Like, my therapist is bound under law to not talk about what I tell her, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can talk about the things that I'm working on, and it's nice to get it off my chest. Like, like at the end of the day, Twitter's not real. It is a social media platform with a bunch of shitheads that are trying to ruin someone's day. If they're not happy, they're going to scream. And just being able to get that off your chest and talk about it and talk about, kind of the struggles that a lot of people internally at most companies don't understand. Community management is not understood by most people. There are companies who don't think that community management has any ROI. Right, there are people who think that it is worthless, and there's no need to have it, and I get it, because there's a lot of things that you can't put a metric value on in community management.
Right,
you can't always track what people are thinking in a number. Right, so
no,
true.
And
it's not very quantifiable.
No,
that's the word I was looking for.
I also want to add to, you're not just, brushing it off, right? Because I remember we said that in sort of the beginning, like, it's an awful way to think about it in a sense. You're really not, though, because you're taking that extra step and getting support that you need, be it on a professional, but also on a personal level too, right? So I think that's that's the flip side of this, is that, there's, in the moment, there has to be that active sort of brushing it off, I guess, in a sense. But you're taking it one step further, being like, oh, today's session's going to be great because, I get to scream
talk about
everything.
this or this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are therapy sessions that I have with my own therapist, like, oh, this is going to be a good one.
Oh, dude. I love that day whenever I'm like, oh, I have 7 sticky notes. I can't wait for therapy. But on the flip side, like, there are times where there are things that I don't talk to my therapist about, right? And it's me in a group chat with other community managers, and we just shit on the people that are posting stupid things.
Right. Right. There's the other side too.
Yeah.
You get the the personal support just from coworkers and colleagues, and that camaraderie helps. I remember I utilized that a lot when I was working in a hospital. It was just needed, that hour lunch break where we all got together to just either eat in silence or vent about all the bullshit that happened during the day. Like, it's so important.
That is the one thing I miss about working in an office, because I am 100% remote.
Yeah.
Is I miss having a lunch break to shoot the shit with people. That is it. I don't miss people walking by my desk to have a conversation. Because I'm trying to work. Leave me the hell alone.
Right.
I was going to Taco Tuesday over by LAX whenever I worked at Square Enix, right? Like, it was super fun. So, like, that's the only thing I miss, is that lunch break to decompress with your coworkers who understand what you're going through.
No, 100% relate to that.
I think the fact that you mentioned gig is, again, it's a stopgap for, like, working from home.
Yeah.
But we need this person-to-person interaction.
Mm-hmm. And I'm lucky, outside of video games, that I have a very, very good core group of friends. So I have my friends that I play Destiny with, or I just hang out in Discord with, that are my best friends, that they all live in Florida and I don't. But regardless, I hang out with them in Discord all the time. But then I also have my core group of friends here in Austin. Tomorrow, we're going to a brewery tomorrow afternoon just to hang out. We haven't seen each other in a couple weeks. Everyone's been kind of stressed with work, and I'm the only person who works in games out of this group. So no one understands a thing I'm talking about. But still, they will listen, and that's the coolest. That is a very cool thing.
And that's the key thing, having people that will listen.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't do this job without friends. You can't. You cannot. Like, if you want to get into community management, but you are like the loner type personality, which there's nothing wrong with being a loner. But if you don't have a core friend group, community management is not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you need that support network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have a shoulder to cry on.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that's really just kind of like a nice way to kind of wrap all of this up in a sense, right? Is just to the friendly little recap at the end. Community managers are people. Please be nice. They have feelings, but also
Sometimes.
And also, Nell, I think what you really touched upon and talked about throughout this whole podcast is just the importance of having that support behind you, be it coworkers, be it supervisors, be it outside therapy, to be able to talk, to be able to vent, and just to be able to get the skills needed to kind of build up the tough skin in a sense, right? To handle, Joe Schmo 123 just spouting bullshit, basically.
I hate that guy. Joe Schmo. I hate him.
I'm glad I'm
But
average,
even then,
Sorry, Joe.
You're fine.
it's something to be said for anyone in any profession, that you need to have people.
Oh, 100%. 100%. When I worked in software sales, I had my group, because working in sales is also just equally mentally exhausting, right? Like, end of month, end of quarter, I got to close 17 deals for 150K. What am I going to do? So it's just like a launch.
So, on that note, Nell, where can people find you? Please feel free to plug anything and everything.
You can find me literally on every platform at Nelstar 50. That's the benefit of having a number in your name. You get it everywhere.
Let's go.
But if you like football, our podcast just ended. But I do host a football podcast with Big Ants Gaming and Nathanius called The Regular Season, where basically we just shoot the shit and talk about football.
Love it. I love it. I will be checking you guys out for the next upcoming season. And I'll probably go.
I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm a Panthers fan. I just thought the Randall Cunningham jersey was really cool looking.
I think offline we may have a conversation about that last call. That's an offline conversation. But thank you so much. I am not prepared. Here are the plugs. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the GMH Podcast. Feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, wherever the hell you listen to your podcast. Leaving a review, rating us allows other individuals to find the podcast. Keep up to date with everything we are doing over at guardiansmh.org. Follow us on Twitter at guardiansmh, and also download our Guardians Mental Health app on iTunes and Google Play Store, where you can get instant and 24/7 access to our RTS spot, as well as all of our digital mental health kits. As we've been saying at the end of each podcast, we will be at PAX East. Join us in Boston. Stay tuned to our Twitter to see kind of what we got coming up for the event and where we'll be. Feel free to join our partner Discord server, discord.gg/guardiansmh. Help us keep the lights on, but also more importantly, help us keep the mental health kits free. If you are able to donate, feel free to go to tiltify.com/@guardians. Also, feel free to check out our merch store over at slakermerch.com/collections/guardiansmh. In all honesty, just go to slakermerch.com and search Guardians Mental Health. You'll find all of our stuff. If you like coffee, which I think most people do, we're partnered with King's Coast. So use code GMH at checkout. You'll get 10% off your order, and all the profits and proceeds that we get off of that order go right back into our mental health kit. So if you enjoy really good coffee, or if you're in Long Island, just go, because it's a really cool place. They don't pay me to say that, but it's outside of family. That's the only reason I go to Long Island at this point, to be honest. And that's our plugs.
I love it. And we have our first charity stream coming up for 2023, March 4th and 5th. And March 5th, we're doing a block from noon to 2. And we're very lucky enough to have Twitch Charity actually put us on the front page for our block. Yes. And we're going to be doing kind of a panel talk about disabilities. Matt, do you want to talk about that just real brief, just to plug that panel?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be front page. That's Saturday. What's
Sunday.
The date, Joe? What's the date? Help me.
Sunday, March 5th.
March 2nd. March 5th.
Sunday, March 5th. The idea of the panel, March is Disability Awareness Month. So a lot of things that we're looking to discuss, talk about disabilities, both on a physical, mental health sense, but also talking more about the invisible disability, how it affects individuals. And I'm hoping we can have some really great people on that podcast to kind of talk and bring that point home. I'm still writing it, so bear with me. But it's going to be, it's something that I'm passionate about and have some inside knowledge on. So I'm very happy to be
it's going to be a
part of that.
Great panel. And
yeah, no, it really is, and it's not going to be your stereotypical HR type of how to handle disabilities in the workplace. Rah. No, we're going to make this fun. We're going to make this knowledgeable, and we're going to make this a great hour of a conversation.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Yes, absolutely. That was great. Awesome.
I try.
Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out with us. Now, I can't thank you enough. I can't wait until I get to run into you in IRL again. Hopefully, it's in the rocking chairs down at GCX again, because that was about the most chill time I had, and I look back at that, just that evening, very fondly, and I will for years to come. That was so chill. I absolutely
Next time I'll
loved it.
Sneak a beer outside so I can sit outside longer.
You know what, just send me in and I'll go get one. Yeah.
That was a great night. GCX is always a good time. But the people that I've met at GCX, yourself included, have been some of the best connections and friendships that I've made throughout the industry, because it's driven by passion, not just for a game like Destiny, but for community as a whole.
Absolutely. That's why it's special. It's very special, and I'm looking forward to being back down there this August, actually.
I'll be there.
Same. We're going to do it again. All right.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Going to be there as well.
I won't
Same
have
here.
COVID this time.
Oh God. We'll go to Disney World after.
My wife will make me, so I will be there too.
I'm bringing my daughters. They've never been to Disney, so that's going to be a main stop for us a couple days early.
Love it.
My kids are still a little bit too young for it.
Yeah, I don't think I can take Moxley. That's my only kid.
my cats won't enjoy it.
Yeah. Said his name. He just gave me the side eye again.
Like, what are we doing? Nothing. All right, good night.
All right,
Alrighty.
so we're going to go ahead and raid one of our ambassadors who is live right now, Blaze. He is also
Yes.
doing a charity stream for us. He does an annual charity stream for us on his own. We're very thankful. He's super awesome individual. He's an educator by trade, and he absolutely loves Smite, and he's actually really good at it too. So everybody who's tuning in, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Stick around, go in his chat, blow it up. Give them that energy, that positive energy. Hype them up. Give them some, get them going, and just let them know that we all care and we're all here to have some fun. All right,
Yeah.
everybody, take care. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your weekend. Stay warm. Have a beer
Or cool, wherever you might live.
Or 6.
or 6 or stay warm or cool, whatever you prefer. All right,
Yeah.
see ya.
Whatever you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Later.
There we go. Awesome.
Since you're doing stuff with memes, I just posted in chat. It's called the Meme Life. So it is